There's a second thing, and I think that can help describe where the imbalance of a lot of salespeople are and what they can do to fix it. And George, I'm going to ask you to help me with this. Let's assume that we have a company and we've got a staff of like 10 salespeople, and we need to hire 1 or 2 new people because we've had some turnover. So the question is, and let's assume we're a distributor of parts and pieces products. Doesn't matter if it's plumbing supplies or cleaning supplies or gardening supplies, it's all parts and pieces supplies. What are the most critical attributes you want to look for in the next salesperson you're going to hire? What would be some of the things that you would say?
I think it would be persistence. I think it would be able to work a plan, uh, uh, um, a likable personality, a person who asks good questions and listens.
And your list is frankly right on with what most happens. Whether it's a sales group, I do this exercise in my programs a lot, whether it's an all sales audience or whether it's managers or owners, the lists tend to be pretty much the same. And here's the challenge. Everything you said was positive, but I want to show you where some that only focused on a few areas. If we look, there are 4 sets of skills we have to teach somebody to be persuasive. If you want to be persuasive in your job, there's 4 skills you have to master, and they build on top of each other like floors on a building. The first and the most fundamental skill is we got to have a strong attitude and energy. How do you deal with rejection? People telling you no. With the hard work that even when they buy from you, sometimes they don't say thank you. All this, how do we deal with the attitude that you're positive, you're energized, and you're excited about going to work, and you convey that to buyers? That's the first level, attitude and energy. The second level is your personal skills. How effective are you at the steps of a sales call? Do you know how to ask questions, how to close, how to qualify? The best way to present your products or services and the features and benefits about them. This is all the blocking and tackling. This is your ability to hit a golf ball. Not to play the course, but you can hit it. So when you hit it, you can get consistent results. The third skill is your tactical skills. Tactics deal with process, structures, or controls. There are 3 tactical skills that are most critical in selling. The first tactical skill is what is your selling process? What do you do from the time you identify a new opportunity till the time you close on the sale? What are the steps of your process? That's multiple step thinking now. That's a tactical discussion. It isn't what are you going to do next? It's and then what are you going to do? What are the steps you go through from idea to close? Now, what's fascinating is I ask salespeople, I'll draw this visual out of ID to close. It's just a horizontal line with identify on one end and close on the other. And I'll say, you've been selling for this company for 10 years. Walk me through your process. What do you do? The most common answer I hear is, it depends. Depends on the customer, depends on the products, depends on the competitor, depends. Does it bother anybody else that's also the name of a diaper? I just find it's hilarious, but it's the multiple step thinking. The second was when you got the business, let's draw a horizontal line from January 1st to December 31st. What are our plans this year to support and grow this account in some kind of proactive way other than just showing up and doing service? The third tactical structure is how do we, within a customer, expand our connectivity to get higher, wider, and deeper? We need to get higher up to the executives that have the money. We got to get wider to the other departments that are being influenced by what this department is doing. And we got to get deeper to the front line to really understand what they're doing and how we can help them do it better. Those are 3 tactics. I ask salespeople, what's your idea to close process? Walk me through January 1st to December 31st, what you're going to do, or what are your plans? And everybody says, it depends. See, the problem is most salespeople are like the Halari bird. Ever hear of the Halari bird?
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-foot bird, lives in 4-foot grass, spends its whole life saying, where the hell are we? And this is what happens, the lack of tactical multiple step planning and structure and understanding. And then the final skill, the fourth and final, is your strategic. And strategic deals with your philosophy or your approach or your positioning. Your intended message is more of a strategic question or statement than it is an operational question. It isn't, can you verbalize your intended message, but the question is strategically, can you deliver your intended message in a way that's going to help you? Big difference between those 2 scenarios. So to me, I see your intended message is really a strategic challenge of philosophy, positioning, and focus. It's not just saying, do you have the words arranged right? Or are you technically accurate in what you're saying? So if we step back and look at it, what are the skills we need to have in success in selling a day? We need strong attitude. We need strong personal skills. We need strong processes and plans. And we need a strong message. And when we can get a salesperson to work on all of those entities, we tend to have success.
Jim, it sounds challenging to be a successful salesperson today.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. That's why you see so many are successful in spite of their best efforts. I'm just amazed how many salespeople have gone into sales and they had to stumble around to figure out what they were doing because nobody told them. And nobody trained them. The only training people tend to get is on product skills and on the computer system. So if you're a new sales rep to my company, whether I sell equipment or services or supplies, first thing I'm going to do is make sure you understand how to enter an order and how to track and how to use our CRM system and get comfortable with the computer skills. Then the second is we're going to teach you technically what our product does. And then third, we'll teach you how a customer benefits or how they use what you're doing. But we never really step back and talk about how to make all this work, how to gain more control, how to be more persuasive, especially in a brief amount of time. There's a challenge I can give your listeners to see if you want to test this out to see where you are. And the first challenge is to draw out that ID to close line and just ask a sales rep or yourself, what are the steps of your process? And see if you can write down what are the steps you follow consistently. We're not talking about writing down the steps of a sales call here. We're talking about what are the steps to the process. When's the best time to give a demo? When's the best time to give a quote? When's the best time to bring in a technical expert? And when's the best time to bring in a manager, all to help convey your message of uniqueness and value? Those need to be organized and planned. Just can't be haphazard. We can't just reactively do this. We have to be more proactive initiators. I had a great program title that I used to do for my association presentations that was such a great title because it described exactly what needed to happen. The problem is it became politically inappropriate. Because the title of the speeches I used to give was "We need arsonists, not firefighters." Right? You know, politically not a great term to be using today in our environment. But if we look at it, that to me was so concise in explaining what we needed sales reps to do. We need them to be initiators, not responders. Look at how many salespeople that have an existing territory, they have existing customers. And when they call the customers up, they only ask the same 4 questions. Or when they show up on site, anything you need? Anything coming up? Anything I can help with? How's the family? And look how reactive all that is. See, there's 4 levels of service. And a fascinating exercise you can also do is to ask your people, if you're a manager, why based on all the competitive options do I want to buy from you? And everybody write their answers down and see how diffuse they are and how generalized they are and how non-unique they are. But the third thing you can do is to write down, and this is kind of a fun exercise I've done, is what are your bragging rights? You tell me you've got great service. What do you mean by that? What is it you do that defines you as having great service? Because everybody talks about how great their service is. Okay, what defines your great service? And we'll write down a list of stuff. Oh, what do you think some of the stuff they write down is?
Competent people, we get the job done.
We know what we're talking about when you call us. We follow through on what we promise. We carry a wide range of products. And how impressive is that to the customer? Gee, if I called you, you actually know what you're talking about. And if I order something, you actually deliver it. Should we be having a parade for you now? I mean, it's that isn't that pretty much minimum requirements of the job? It's like going to a restaurant and said, okay, we'll give you food. Don't know what it's going to taste like, but you're going to get food. And it's this problem of there's this lack of focus. See, the 4 levels of service. The first level of service is you did something for the customer, but they assumed you were going to do it anyway.
Mm.
It drives me nuts. The place I drive a large car because I'm 6'7". So I drive an SUV. And I bought it from an upscale dealership. And they advertise in the city all over the place. You buy a car from us, you get free car washes for life. I had my car in for service. I had a lot of stuff being done for it. I was in a hurry. It was when we had loaners. I was returning a loaner car. And I called up and I said, I have a very tight schedule. Is my car ready? They said, yes, it is. And I said, I want to run in, pay for it. Give me the keys. I'm out of there. I have a real tight schedule. No problem. We can help you with that. I pull in, pay for it. Where's the car? Well, it's still in the back. Well, I thought you said it was ready. They said, but we're giving you a free car wash. And I said, I'm late. I need my car. Yeah, but we're giving you a free. He kept reminding me this free car wash. And it was like, wait, they're not doing what's important to me. And now when I pull into their dealership, they have a sign that says free car washes, 90-minute wait. And I'm thinking, this is their uniqueness. This is their value. So one of the things you do, the first level is you did something, but I assumed you were going to do it anyway. So the more you brag about it, the more irritating it becomes. The next level up, it wasn't assumed, but it sure was expected. I just paid $1,000 to have maintenance work done on my car, and they're giving me a free car wash for $1,000. They ought to be waxing the damn thing, not just cleaning it. So it's expected, but I'm thinking, this isn't winning me great excitement because of it. The third level is now you did something that impressed me. Wow, I'm surprised and impressed with how fast you got that, or you had it in stock. The fourth and final level is you did something that was amazing. So the customer will tell everybody else about how it happened or what happened to them. What's interesting is when I build a list with a sales team, what are your bragging rights? What are you most proud of in your customer service? After we build a list sometimes of 20 items and we go back and explain the 4 levels, I'll go back and ask them, so where's your list on these 4 levels? And usually the entire list is assumed or expected.
Mm.
The only time we can gain a competitive advantage is when we're proactive. If you're reactively supporting a customer, you'll never have a competitive advantage. Because if the customer initiates the request and you follow through, at most it can be assumed or expected. Where if I come to you and say, wow, you've got a lot of hours on that equipment, you need to be doing maintenance, or these are the exposures you have. And if I bring that information to you proactively, now I'm doing something impressive or amazing because I brought it to you. If you have to come to me, it's never impressive or amazing. But look how many salespeople are reactive in what they're doing, waiting for the customer to come to them to ask for something. And then they respond and say, aren't we doing a great job? It's just kind of fascinating how it works. Are you a proactive initiator? Are you a reactive responder? Are you an arsonist? Or are you a firefighter?
Mm. And I see an analogy there, Jim. It's curious. I ride a motorcycle, and after they sold me the motorcycle, I never heard from them. Like, I would take my bike in for service, but I never heard from them. They never called me. They didn't, every spring they know I've got to start up. I'm probably going to need something, but they don't contact me. And I think, wow, business must be good if you can just be that lazy.
It is. I think there's a couple things. One of the things that COVID has done is it's caused a major disruption to business. I remember one of my distributors said, the biggest problem we have is the suppliers we used to be able to count on, we can't anymore. So reliability, because of supply disruption, not getting what we needed when we needed it. All the stuff still tied up in the harbors that they can't get off the ships and can't get inland to be able to distribute because they're so jammed up. The system has really collapsed in a lot of ways of our supply chain. It has been disrupted. So because of that, during COVID, most salespeople stopped selling. There was actually companies that said, we will take on no new customers. We're having a hard enough time servicing what we have. There were some that even told their smallest customers, I don't know that we can help you or not because we just don't have the resources. So there was this circling of wagons, the kind of concentration of only working. And all of that work was expediting, problem solving, special pricing, trying to apologize, those kind of calls. So they were really in a lead service person role. Now, as things have opened up, we need them to switch back to being more proactive in selling. And look how many are reactive still. They come in Monday morning, and based on the voicemails they have and the emails they have, defines what they do for the day. And look how exposed that is. It's reactive. And customers just are not impressed with that anymore. Gee, I ordered something, you took the order properly, you had it in stock and you delivered it on a reasonable time and you invoiced me properly. Why are you so impressed that you think that you're now a trusted advisor to me when all you've done is just process an order? It's like I'm amazed how many of these restaurants we do carry out food. And when I go to the counter, I give them my credit card, they hand me the bag of food, and the receipt expects a tip. And I'm like, why would this be compensated? This was minimum requirements of the job. I called in, I ordered it, I came and picked it up. I came into your restaurant to be able to give it. I paid for it. And I thought, hell, you ought to be giving me a tip. I'm amazed at the grocery stores, how if I bag my own groceries and I do the self-checkout, how come I'm not getting a discount? So they keep saying, you use the self-checkout. And I go, why? There's no value to me in it. It doesn't do anything for me. In fact, frankly, hearing some of the stories, if I make a mistake, I could be arrested. But they want me to use it because it makes it more efficient for them. But I don't see much value for me. So it's like, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to help me? And how is it going to be different? Why, based on all the competitive options available to me, do I want to buy from you? And that message has to focus on the customer. Jay Levinson in the 1960s had such a spectacular quote. He said, you don't go into the hardware store to buy a drill. You go into the hardware store to buy the opportunity to make holes. The disconnect occurs in the store when the rep is just trying to push their drill. So it's like, we got to be customer focused. Some people call it second step selling. First step is you satisfy what the customer wants. So the second step is they satisfy what you want, which is the order and a relationship. So we look at selling as becoming, it is not just a reactive job anymore. But I'm just amazed when I do programs, I'll ask salespeople, raise your hand if you have been through any sales training other than product knowledge and computer skills in your job. And over half the room raise their hand that no, they have not. So this is where the job of a sales manager is coming in, because the job of selling is changing dramatically. If we don't have the sales leadership change to be more focused on what the sales team needs, then the whole sales organization is not going to be very effective. Can I show you what I mean by that? I know this is a sales program, but just a little bit because how sales leadership is impacting this.
Let's see what that looks like, Jim. And Jim, I'm thinking here, this is a show that I'm going to listen to over and over again just for my own sales learning.
Well, I'm honored. Let me show you this visual I talked about, just to tie it in, this ID to close process. If we look at this ID to close process, how this is impacting a company is significant. First of all, because the majority of salespeople, they're Harari birds, they can't even define the steps. Look at the difference. If you and I are playing chess and I only think one move ahead, but you think two moves, how many games are you going to win? It's going to be
all of them, yeah.
Well, because you're thinking more moves ahead than I am. So in selling right now, the question is, what is your process and how replicable is it? Because the more replicable the process is, the more efficient you are in going through it, the higher the quality each step will be in going through it. If you're planned and prepared, we don't need painters doing a new canvas for each customer. We need a printer, we need a printing press. We identify and make it look unique, but we do the same consistent process so we can improve the efficiency as well as the effectiveness. So if we look at the selling process, ID to close, there is a critical step in the middle that happens that changes everything. And that critical step in the middle of this process, if you're listening just on audio, we have an ID to close line drawn. Right in the middle, we put a hash mark in the middle. And in that, we title it proposal or price quote. So it's like halfway through the process or somewhere in the middle of your process, you're going to issue a price quote. That is a critical turning point in this process, because before you give your price quote, you have power. As soon as you give your price quote, you give away all your power. George, if I'm trying to sell you for your intended message and I'm trying to sell you some computer services, if I haven't given you a proposal, I said, would you let me talk to some of your technical people and understand what you're doing now and what platforms you're using? You would probably say yes, because it's going to help me get you a more accurate price. But if I give you my proposal and I say, now, do you mind if I talk to some of your people? I bet your answer is going to be, well, if you win the business, we got what we needed now, let's just wait until then. So as soon as a sales rep issues their proposal, they lose all their power. But look how over the last couple of decades, we have pushed sales reps quote early as possible. Get the proposal in front of the customer. But look what happens. All it does is take away your power. The next question is, when does your sales manager get involved to help you? And the problem is the last 20 years, the sales managers have gotten involved after their proposal's issued. In fact, in a lot of companies, the manager doesn't even know a proposal exists until it shows up on their computer tracking system because they use the configurator. And a lot of more senior sales reps don't want to tell the customer, their manager, what they're working on. So if it fails, they don't have a negative. The old joke, if a sales call crashes in the middle of the woods and there's no manager around, did it count? Yeah, that's kind of the old philosophy of selling. So for most managers, but look what happens if my manager gets involved after I issue a price quote. There's only two things they can do to help me as a sales rep. They either cut the price to help us win the business, or they offer a lot of free additional services that lower our margins to win the business. But that's the only power they have left. This is what the old style of selling was. It was focusing on the transaction. Today, the more successful sales leadership showing better results is we need to get in front of this process. We need a selling process coach. The selling process coach, if you walk past them and say, hey, I just got a new lead, what a selling process coach is going to get in here, let's talk about it. What are you going to do? How are you going to prepare? When are you going to do this? And be more future focused, predictive, instead of today focused, closing reality. And this is, I would say, the biggest difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, transactional coaching was the style of most managers. Frankly, most managers were in support functions up until about 6 or 7 years ago. So all they did was special pricing, expediting, problem solving, and customer thank you calls or challenge calls. But in all those cases, they're not leading the sales team, they're supporting it. What we're seeing is this shift earlier in the process with the selling process coach getting involved earlier in the beginning when the sales rep still has power and the coach can still impact the results and success of what's being done. So it's just this shift in process of focus of what's going on. So how do we get better as a sales team? There's 3 things. The first thing is you need to have a stronger message of uniqueness. Your intended message is such a spectacular title for these podcasts because it's the bottom line of what needs to be there. Because if you don't have an intended message that's developed, refined, and unique, doesn't matter what else you do, you're not going to have any success. I believe you have hit on the key differentiator of success in selling today. And the number one is your intended message. The second thing is you have the best practices of understanding the steps and structures and the tools to be more efficient and more effective. And then the third thing, besides having a strong message and having strong best practices or tools, is to have strong coaching help from somebody. Even if you work alone, find a peer that you can coach each other. In my speaking business, we have mastermind groups because we're all independent business people, but we get together and we'll get together in small groups and we just coach each other. So you might be a humorist and I'm a sales trainer, but we can both help each other in our careers because we come from different strengths in being professional trainers and coaches and speakers. So it's those 3 things: strengthen your message, strengthen your structures and tools, and strengthen the coaching help you're getting. Look at the case. If I was a golf instructor and you come to me and say, you got a free lesson, a 1-day lesson as a Christmas present. So you're coming to me at the club to take advantage of this free lesson that you've been given as a gift. And I, as the coach, say, so what do you most want to improve in your golf game? And you tell me, I'd like to get an extra 20 yards out of my drive. How effective do you think my coaching help will be if my first suggestion is, why don't you try whacking it harder? Right? You're expecting more structure and more tips and techniques so that you can be more efficient and effective, and frankly, with less energy, accomplish more. That's what coaching is all about. So we need those 3 pieces. We need to have strong messaging, strong tools, and strong coaching. When we have those 3 things in unison, sales tend to take off. We know you're good. Now the only question is, are you ready to get even better and to put more structure and process behind what you're doing?
Powerful advice, Jim. Jim, I know that you regularly publish instructional, helpful advice videos online on your YouTube channel and on your LinkedIn. I believe you're publishing about 3 a week.
3 a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I post on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And it's a resource available to you. In fact, if you can either follow me on LinkedIn, it's Jim Pancero. You can look me up on YouTube, though most of the views I get are through LinkedIn. But to help out, I have a newsletter that I've been publishing for a number of years. And the newsletter comes out every Monday morning. And all the newsletter has is the links and descriptions of the videos I posted last week. So I have a lot of sales managers that have signed up for my newsletter, frankly, to track what videos are coming easy, and then to decide if there's any they want to use in their sales meeting.
Powerful tool, and you can find the links to those resources in the description below. Along with that, there's also a program you have available online. There's a course,
Two video
Jim.
programs, yes, advancedsalesuniversity.com. There's one program on no BS guide to selling in under an hour, and it defines the 5 major selling skills that you need to be successful in sales and how to improve them. And the other one is called Your Price is Too High: 7 Steps to Defending defending a Higher Price. And all videos are under, each one is under about 8 minutes in length. Both series are only an hour in total length. It's concentrated learning, but it's meant to help you increase your competitive edge, make you more persuasive, help you be more effective, help you make more money. It's Advanced Sales University. I hope you check it out.
And you can find those links in the description below. Jim, as we wrap up, if you could be sitting down with a sales manager and who's trying to get better results from a team that is resisting the leadership, or perhaps not receiving the leadership they need, what 1, 2, or 3 pieces of advice would you give to that sales leader?
Great question. I think the first piece is to realize that you can't motivate anybody to do anything as a manager. All you can do is create environments for people to motivate themselves, because they're already highly motivated. The challenge we have is you need to increase your awareness of the differences in generations. We have a unique situation that, from all studies I've read, has never occurred in the history of the world. And that is, you as a manager could very well have 4 distinct generations reporting to you. You could have baby boomers that are over, I think it's 58 now and older is a baby boomer. You could be a Gen Xer, which is 40 and over. You could be a millennial, which is 27 or over, or you could be a Gen Z, which is under 27. And what's amazing is each of those groups have completely different motivations, different interests, and different needs. What's amazing to me about the Gen Zs, the youngest generation in the workforce right now, is the average Gen Z has a better credit rating, personal credit rating, than does a millennial. Because the Gen Zs grew up in a lot of recessionary times with their parents. So they kind of came out of as recession babies. So because of that, just like the people that grew up during the Depression in the 1920s, they became much more astute and financially stable because they saw the consequences of not doing that. So if we look at this process, this is the time that we need you to look at how do we reach each of these different groups, because they each have a different motivational base of what they want to help them achieve more. The second thing is, understand selling has become paint by numbers. The old days, you were successful if you had a sales team of independent gunfighters, each doing it different, each saying different stuff, each even selling different products within your product lines because of what they like best. And frankly, all managers did 20 years ago was just get out of the way of the best people and support them by special pricing, expediting, problem solving, and thank you calls. Today, it's become much more of leadership. And leadership, it's like reins on a stagecoach. Now we need to steer the horses, not just yell at them to do better. And as part of that, selling has become paint by numbers. Consistency of process, consistency of structure makes you more efficient and also more effective. So selling is becoming more of a science than an art. And the only way we're going to make these high performance numbers that companies expect today, because it keeps going up every year, is going to only be when we are able to put more structure and consistency so we can achieve the high numbers that our company is expecting. The job of a sales manager is not to sell. Job of a sales manager is to help their people do even better. I have a very simple definition. The job of a sales manager is to help each and every one of my people achieve more than they would have achieved if we just left them alone. You're the delta difference of a sales team. And to do that, you have to understand motivation. You have to understand the generational differences and the personality differences, and know how to be fair and consistent, at the same time being flexible to the needs of each of your people. That, to me, is the foundation of what it takes to be successful in sales leadership.
Jim, a lot of valuable advice, very challenging for me to pull one most powerful piece of advice in there. And I'll end with this comment, the reminder that salespeople today need to be proactive, not reactive.
If you like what you heard, remember to like, comment, and share this podcast. Come back every week for more practical insights to help you convey your intended message. I'm your host, George Torok.